name is Mandy Hall. I'm the CEO here at Resin Rockers, and you are joining the UV Resin Beginners class. This is our most famous class. Everyone loves this class because there are so many people that are nervous to get started with resin. They're overwhelmed. They don't know where to begin, and there's a lot of people out there that just want to know the tips and tricks because they're struggling with a certain project or they haven't found the right resin, and you guys are in the right spot because I have answers to all of those things. During this class, you're going to learn all the basics of UV resin. You're going to learn what it is, how it's used, what are the advantages of it, and then we're going to unbox our kit. We're going to go through it step by step so you guys know exactly what each item is, and then we're going to create from there. So before we start, there's just a few housekeeping things that I want to go into. Number one, safety. We always talk about safety. Safety is number one. If you prefer to wear a respirator, please do. I will be wearing nitrile gloves. If you have those, please wear those. Make sure you have proper clothing on. I have an apron on. If you've never worked with resin before and you want to wear long sleeves, please feel free to do that as well. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated room. You want some air flowing in the room. And if you have any other questions about that, you can email us as well. Let's dive into what UV resin is, because there are people that don't know what it is, or they mix it up. They don't know the difference between two-part epoxy and UV resin. So to give you a simple explanation of what UV resin is, it is a liquid form of acrylic that turns into a solid when it is exposed to some kind of UV light. That can be sunlight, that can be a UV lamp, which we'll be using tonight. There are different types of UV lamps, including LED. So depending on what you're using, different types of resin will cure. Ours we'll be using the Magic Cure. I'm going to show you a little bit about this tonight. And then if you happen to purchase the beginner kit with the small beginner's lamp, I'm going to talk about that tonight. And we're also going to talk about the pocket lamp. This is the mini version of the Magic Cure. It's mini but mighty. So you have lots of different options as we work through these projects. So that's what UV resin is. What are the advantages of UV resin? The biggest advantage that I can tell you is that it gives you instant gratification because you will have a project that is cured immediately. Our resin cures in about a minute, so 60 seconds. If you're doing a drip or something with a thicker resin, it might take 2 minutes, but for the most part, you'll have a project done in about 1 to 2 minutes, which is huge. Two-part epoxy is an A and a B that you're going to mix together. That's going to cause the chemical reaction that will help it cure, but it takes usually about 24 hours to get that result you're looking for. That's great for bigger projects or more intricate projects, but we're not going to be doing those tonight. We're going to be sticking to the basics, which is jewelry, keychains. We're going to do a bookmark tonight. We're going to do a 3D pour, which you can do with UV resin, but it has to be the right formula of UV resin, and that is what is in your kit. So we're going to have a lot of fun, guys. We're going to dive right in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start unboxing this kit together. So let's do it. You're going to have 100 grams of this original formula. This formula is the #1 formula. This one is going to be good for casting, it's good for doming, it's good for mixing. It's pretty much good for all of the projects that we'll be working through tonight. So this is important. So we're going to use that. You're also going to have a couple different molds. You're going to have a teardrop mold. This is a dual mold that we'll be using to make some earrings. And then we also have a 3D frog that we will be casting. So I know a lot of people get super excited about the 3D pours. This is an exclusive mold from Resin Rockers. We tried to do something super fun and unique that we knew you guys had requested, so this is a really, really fun one. You're going to have 2 different glitters. You're going to have a chunky and a microfine. You can also use glitter from your personal collection. If you have glitters that you are partial to, I'm going to be using a variety of glitter tonight. You are more than welcome to do that. All right, so we talked about making earrings. You're going to have some earring hooks that I'm going to show you how to adhere to those pieces when we're done. And then you should also have 3 different acrylic blanks. You're going to have 2 basic shapes, 1 circle, 1 heart, and then you're also going to have a little project pack from Moxie Vinyls. This is going to have your blank, your hardware, and it's going to have a DTF decal in there. This is something that everybody wishes they could broach, but they haven't yet, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it tonight. You have a silicone mixing brush. This is a lot of fun to use, but it's also very functional. You have a glitter spoon because it will prevent messes and help you with the measuring. I know a lot of people say, well, I can just dump it from my jar, but I will tell you that they usually 9 times out of 10 will over pour, and then you're using more resin and it just creates this domino effect. All right, you're going to have a crafting clip, which I'll show you what that's for. A silicone mixing cup. This is how we're going to mix all of our glitter and resin together. Some hardware for your keychains, polymer clay pieces, and we gave you a nice little mix, and I'll show you a couple things that you can do with these. Of course, your workspace mat to keep your workspace clean as we're working through everything, and then your little mini project pack. And we're going to go into this project pack because I want to tell you what these things are. Okay. So we have a little tiny practice ring in here. So you want to keep this handy because this is one of the first things that we'll be doing. And then you have a really fun adjustable ring. This is one of my favorites. I have this in several different resin colors. It's awesome for if you're like wanting to go out and you need to match your outfit. This is really fun to have. Okay, we have a little key fob. And then we have a bookmark. We have a double-sided spinning pendant. We have a square pendant, and then we have an oval pendant. Last but not least, we have a really fun little bracelet with lots of pockets for resin on it. So I'm going to show you a really quick way to make something really fun out of this, and you're probably going to want to wear it right away because it is super cute. All right, so we've unboxed our kit, so we're gonna dive right in, you guys. We're gonna move right to our first project. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick out one of your acrylic blanks. You can do the circle or you can do the heart, whichever you prefer. Go ahead and pick out one of those. Make sure that you have a piece of sandpaper handy because you will need that. And if you have alcohol spray or something to clean it with, you can do that as well. All right, I have this little scraping tool. This is what I'm gonna use to take up this little protective coating here. If you have a weeding tool, you can use that. You can use your fingernail, you can use a pair of scissors, whatever you have that's handy. I just happen to have this, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pull up one of the sides. And then we're going to take off that front, which is almost like paper. And you're gonna be left with this nice, shiny acrylic blank. Now what I want you to do is grab your sandpaper and you're going to sand this surface. Everybody usually asks what type of grit I use for my sandpaper. I try to stick between 180 and 220. That's my sweet spot. 220 really is my favorite because it's a little bit finer with the scratching. But 180 will work just fine if that's all you have on hand. So you want to totally scratch this up. You want it to be nice and rigid. So you can see I took the shine completely off. That's how you want it because that's going to create a really nice adhesion when it comes to that resin. So we're going to go ahead and spray a little bit of alcohol on there and we're going to get rid of any dust particles that are left. And we're going to dry that up so it's nice and clean. And then you're going to be left with this dull piece of plastic that we're going to make beautiful. All right, now I want you to go ahead and grab your mini silicone cup and we are going to get ready for some resin here. So what I want you to do is go ahead and grab your gloves and put those gloves on. And we're going to open up our bottle of resin. Now, if you have an X-Acto knife handy, I know that was in the supply list, that comes in handy opening this, but you can also use the cap to open it as well. So if you want to use the cap, you're just going to unscrew this top part of the lid, and then you're going to take this pointy thing and you're just going to jab it right in here and then move it around in a circle. If you have an X-Acto knife, you can take it a step further and clean up that little foil edge and just kind of peel it out of there. It makes it a little easier for that resin to come out. Then we're going to replace that cap and then unscrew that top portion right there. So now we're ready for some glitter. So you guys can decide if you want to do the microfine glitter or the chunky glitter, whatever is speaking to you. I am going to use a glitter from our series called the Billy J series. This is called Piano Man. And this is the one that I'm going to put on this blank. So I'm going to fill up my little cup here a little less than halfway. You can always mix more, so you definitely want to start off with just a little bit until you get the hang of the mixing. And then we're going to take our glitter spoon and you are going to do 1, 2 heaping spoonfuls with your little glitter spoon. Then you're going to take your silicone brush and you're going to stir that glitter into the resin. And this is what it looks like. So it's just like a thick mixture. It's not going to be too dry. It's also not going to be very transparent. It's just the perfect thick mixture. Almost like a cake batter. Now we're going to add the resin to the blank, but we're going to do it from the middle. When you add the resin to the middle, you're less likely to have some overpour. So we're going to put that down in the middle and we're going to work from the inside to the outside. So you're just going to lightly spread all the way around. Now there's a lot of different things you can do to customize this. You can do initials, you can do any kind of vinyl on the other side. You can put polymer clay pieces in it. There's so many different things that you guys can do to make this unique. It doesn't necessarily have to be just glitter, but it can be. If you just like glitter, then this is definitely going to be the keychain for you. Now when you get up to the hole here where the hardware goes, I want you just to tap. You're going to tap your brush very lightly, and that is going to allow you to not get resin in the hole. Now if you happen to get resin in that hole, I'm going to show you what to do to fix it before we do the cure. All right, so I'm moving my resin up to the top. Now this is self-leveling. All of our resin is self-leveling, which is very easy to work with. You kind of let the resin do the work. Now what we're going to do is anytime you add something to your resin, it is going to add bubbles. So even when you're stirring your resin, it's going to add bubbles, and we want to make sure that before we cure it, we get rid of any of those surface bubbles. So we're going to use a lighter for this. And we're just going to lightly sweep that lighter right across the surface, and that's going to get rid of any bubbles that happen to rise to the top. Then I'm going to let this rest for about 10 seconds, and then we're going to do that again. Perfect. All right, so now it's time to cure. So this first one, I'm going to use the beginner's lamp in case anybody has that. We're going to talk about that. So we're going to place this right over top of our circle, and we're going to press that middle button, and that has a 60-second timer on it, and that's going to be enough to cure this piece. Now we also want to cure our cup at the same time if we can, because we're going to be using that cup again, and we want to be able to peel that resin out and have that nice clean cup to work with. Now while this is curing, I want you to get your next project out and ready so we can dive right into it, and that's going to be this keychain pack from Moxie, which is really cute, by the way. So we have our blank, we have our hardware, and we have our little DTF decal. So go ahead and set that to the side. And then what we want to do is we want to check our project to make sure it's fully cured. So go ahead and use your glove and touch all the way around the project. If you notice anything is sticky anywhere, that probably means that you need to cure it a little bit longer. I notice on one side where this hole is, just at the edge, it probably needs to be cured a little bit more, and that's because this beginner's lamp is not very big. So if you have a beginner's lamp, you're probably gonna have to use it more than once to get the whole keychain done. So go ahead and just make sure that it's not sticky anywhere. It should be nice and hard like a rock. All right, so I'm gonna turn my cup over with my lamp and let that finish curing. And let's take a look at my Piano Man keychain. So pretty, I love this. This series is definitely my favorite one right now. So, okay, now that we have that done, we are going to go ahead and dome this. So doming is one of the #1 things that people ask me about. Why do you do it? How do you do it? Why is it important? It's important because it protects your piece from outside elements, but it also will give you a nice round curvature to your piece. So right now you have a lot of this flat dimension, and it's beautiful, sure, but we're gonna add a lot more to that when we put this top coat on, because we're gonna be able to have a nice curved look all the way around the edge, but it's also gonna bring out the dimension in that glitter. So you're not really doing your glitter much justice until you dome your piece. So let's go ahead and dome this. So we are going to take our sandpaper and we are going to scratch that glitter, that beautiful glitter that we just put on. We're gonna make it all dull. So I want you to sand it all the way down. I don't want any shine left on that piece. I'm gonna sand it all the way down. Make sure you get the edges too. You don't want your resin running off. You want it to be able to stick really well to that surface. We're going to go ahead and spray with some alcohol and wipe it down. And if you'll notice, one of my hacks, you guys, is I always sand on a little piece of paper towel. And the reason that I do that is because I don't want a lot of dust at my workstation, because dust can get into your finish and it's a troublemaker. So you definitely want to try to prevent dust at all costs. So I always try to do it over a paper towel and then throw that away. So you can see how dull that is. That's exactly what I'm going for. I want it to be nice and dull. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put this top coat on, and we're going to spread it the exact same way that we spread that initial coat. So we're going to add the resin right to the middle, and we're going to do the size of a quarter to start. And just to give you an idea of the difference that it makes, when you start to add that top coat, it really brings that glitter back to life. So we're going to spread that. And you're going to move it from the middle to the end all the way around. And I love this glitter because it has so many different colors in it. It's got a gold in it, it's got a purple in it, but you can't tell until you really get that top coat on. It's so pretty. And again, when you get up to the hole, don't forget you want to tap around it to prevent resin from going in it. So we're going to tap, tap, tap. And we're going to move this all the way to the edge. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to take our lighter now. We're going to swipe it across the top to get rid of any surface bubbles. We're going to let that rest for a few seconds, and then we're going to hit it again with that heat. And now it's ready for curing. And this time we're going to use the Magic Cure. So if you bought the Magic Cure, go ahead and turn on the Magic Cure. And what I want you to do is I want you to leave the wattage at that low setting, because what we're going to do is we're going to titrate up in wattage as we go, because the slower the cure, the better the finish. That's what you want to tell yourself each time that you're trying to achieve that glass-like finish. You want to make sure you're doing it slow. So we're going to go ahead and hit that 120, and every 10 seconds or so, I want you to hit that W button. And what that's going to do is it's going to increase the wattage very, very slowly so that your temperature inside stays nice and cool. It's going to reduce the amount of shrinkage if there is any. You're not going to have the orange peel look on top of your pieces. A lot of people talk about having pits in their pieces, little pinholes. That can be caused from curing too fast. So I just want you to hit that W button every 10 seconds or so. And once you get to that 36 watts, you're just going to let that go the rest of the time at 36 watts. That's where I want you to let it go and let it finish. So right now I'm at 24. And I'm now at 36, and I'm just going to let it finish at 36 watts. If you're using the beginner's lamp, you're going to do the same thing that you did, but the one thing I want you to do on this final coat is I want you to hold your lamp about 6 inches off of your mat when you first start curing it. And that's going to let more oxygen into your piece, and it's going to keep it a little bit cooler. So then after you do that for about 10 seconds, you're going to just lower it onto your piece and let it finish out the cure on top. Okay. All right, let's take a look at how she turned out. You guys, look at that. So pretty. Beautiful. That is what I'm talking about with that glass-like finish. And you can see how it's got a little curve to it on top? That's what we're going for when I talk about doming. Look at that, the difference in that piece. It really does a nice job getting it to this level here. Okay, so now that this is done, we're going to take off that back protective piece. The reason we leave that on until the end is because we really want to protect it, the back, in case you do have spillage, because if you have spillage, it's not going to cure to it, and you can easily just peel it off. So it's almost like a protective barrier for you. Look at that, so pretty. So this is what it looks like when it's done. So you guys can personalize it up. You can leave it as is if you want to. It's totally up to you. But then all you're going to do is add your hardware. So you can pick out one of your tassels here. And we're just going to take some pliers. And then it's easier for me, and it might be easier for you too, to do 2 pair of pliers. So I take 1 pair here, and then I take 1 pair here, and then I move that center piece together. And that's the easiest way to do it. And then you're left with this amazing keychain, the little tassel on there. Super fun. All right, you guys are experts now, so you're not going to need too much instruction for me on this one. So I'm going to go through a couple things with you and show you how to line things up when you're doing a keychain like this. A lot of people get confused on where do I glitter and how do I line it up right. So you want to make sure that the heart curve here matches the decal. You want to make sure the N fits into that little spot. Same with the R and then the C. So all the corners need to match so that you can make sure that you are glittering the right way. Now, you can glitter the front or the back of this. I'm going to do the back to show you guys how to use this DTF. And the cool thing about the DTF is it's permanent. So you do not have to seal it at the end. You don't have to dome it. You can, certainly, but you don't have to. So I turned over my blank and I'm going to take off the back. And we're just going to follow the same process. We're going to sand We're gonna mix our glitter. We're gonna glitter it up. And the only difference is I'm not gonna dome the back of this because you're not going to need to, and I'll show you why. Let's go ahead and clean out our cup. Now, if you have a little bit of residual glitter that you need to get out of your cup, you can use a piece of packing tape, Scotch tape. I'm actually using a packing slip, and you're just gonna press it into your cup and get rid of any of that extra glitter. It's also very handy for cleaning up your workstation intermittently as well. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna fill up our cup about halfway, just like we did with the last one. And for this one, I am actually going to use She's Always a Woman. That's this one. It's from the same Billy J series. So pretty. And we are going to do, I'm going to do 2.5 heaping teaspoons or glitter spoons on this one. You're going to use your silicone brush. You're going to stir that up. There we go. Okay, now this, I wanted to show you guys, this can cause those bubbles. I'm gonna let this sit for a minute because I want you to see the bubbles rise to the top. So let that sit, but don't sit it where your lamp is, if your lamp is on. Hopefully it's not, but don't do that because it will cure. So let's go ahead while that's sitting and those bubbles are coming up. We're gonna sand this really quick and then clean it off, and then you can add your resin. We're going to spray it with some alcohol spray and wipe it down. Make sure it's nice and clean. All right, now take a peek at your glitter here. You can see all those little micro bubbles right here. Those are all bubbles rising to the top. So that's how it works. They're always going to rise to the top, and you can go ahead and try with your lighter to light them. You'll see them popping. It's just a lot easier for you to see it in action in this little cup. So we're going to go ahead and add this resin to the middle and work it to the edge. And you're going to do that all the way around. Not many questions tonight.
No. Well, we've got questions, but we've been able to.
Nice. Nice. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm just gonna put a little resin in the hole right here because I want to show you how to fix it, because I know that's a common thing that happens. So I've got my resin spread out very neatly. We're gonna go ahead and hit it with some heat. And then I've got some resin in this little hole up here, and I want to get it cleaned out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my silicone brush and I'm gonna press down into it, and then I'm going to move my piece. And by moving your piece, it's going to leave that resin underneath instead. So it's going to open up that hole and allow you to not have it clogged when you cure it. And we're going to go 60 seconds at that 36 watts. There we go. And we're just going to go at that full wattage for that full 60 seconds. All right, now I've got my blank done and it's nice and solid. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn it over, and we are actually going to peel off this back. We're not going to sand this. We're not going to dome it. We're just going to leave it as is. We're just going to clean it up a little bit because there's a little bit of resin around it. And then we're going to peel off the back, and then I'm going to show you how to put the DTF on. All right, let's go ahead and take off this back coating. Perfect. Get rid of any extra resin that might be around the piece. All right. Now, the reason I'm putting the decal on this side is because you don't have to dome it. You don't have to dome this keychain. So we're going to put this right on the opposite side that we glittered. So this is where we glittered. And this is the clean side that we just peeled off, and this is where we're going to put it, right here. So just make sure your top doesn't have any resin anywhere. And then we're going to peel this like a sticker. So what you're going to do is peel this back like a sticker, so you want that white side, and then this part is going to serve as your transfer tape. So you're going to hold this right above your piece where you want it to lay. So before you make sure it's all lined up where you want it, and then you're going to put it down, and you're going to press from the middle to the outer edge. All right, so once you get that on, you're just going to peel that top layer off, and then you've got your keychain. So you don't have to do anything else. Now you can dome this if you want to, but you don't have to. So there you go, guys. Now you can add your hardware and your little tassel to this guy, and you'll have 2 finished keychains. I am going to multitask during this next project because I'm going to demo for you this fun little bracelet at the same time as we're working through one of our fun little projects. So I'm going to do the key fob. I'm going to do the key fob and this little mini ring for you guys so you can learn how to do that. So what I want you to do, I want you to grab this clip right here, and I want you to put it on the side of the ring like this. And this is how we are going to hold it up under the lamp. It's going to be our little holder, our handy little holder. And then we're going to grab our silicone mixing cup. And we are not going to need much resin for this. Very, very minimal resin, because you can see the surface areas that I'm working with are very, very small. So we're only going to use about 1/4 size UV resin in our cup. And I am going to go with Vienna for this one. And because it's such a small amount, we're just going to use 1/2 of a heaping spoonful of the glitter. And we are going to mix that in. And all we're going to do is pick it up with our silicone brush. And you're just going to kind of dab it in. There we go. And you're going to do the exact same thing with your key fob, or if you're doing your pendant or your bookmark, whatever you are doing, you're just going to dab it in. And I don't want you to fill it all the way to where it's past the line. I want you to do it right to the line. That's all you're going to need, because we do want to dome this and give it a really nice shiny top coat at the end. And you're not going to have enough room for that top coat if you fill it too full. So make sure you leave enough room for that top coat. So I'm going to go into my key fob. We're going to do the exact same thing. Fill it up to the line, up to the edge of the rim there. And then we're going to give it a nice dome coat after. Now we're going to add heat, just like we did with our keychain. Get rid of any of those surface bubbles. And we're gonna go in for 60 seconds at 36 watts. And we're gonna cure both of those at the same time. And we're gonna talk about this lovely little bracelet that is so cute. So the easy way to make these is using our color burst formula, which is a UV resin that has the tint in it, so you don't have to color it. Or you can use our new formula, which is called Glimmer Cure, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna show you guys how quick and easy it is to make a bracelet in under 5 minutes with the Glimmer Cure. The nice thing about the Glimmer Cure is it already has the glitter inside the formula. So you do not have to mix anything. You don't have to worry about spilling anything. You don't have to worry about ratios. You just simply choose the glitter that you want, and then you pipe it in as you would with, like, from the silicone cup. So I'm gonna show you how to do it. Super easy. All right, this has 3 seconds left. And now you can see that this is ready for a dome coat. So I want you to go ahead and add your dome coat to the top of whatever piece you chose. And I want you to do the same with your little mini ring. You're gonna add just a touch. You're gonna add about a pea-sized amount to the top of your ring and let it kind of rest there. Perfect. And then we're gonna go in with our Glimmer Cure while you guys are doing that top coat so you guys can see how quick and easy it is. So I'm just gonna use a variety of colors. This one is the dark blue. And you just simply pipe it in. And the nice thing is you don't have to sand it, you don't have to dome coat it because it has a lot of resin that sits to the top, whereas with glitter, the glitter will sink. So you don't have to worry about sanding and dome coating it because it was formulated to reduce the amount of steps that you have to do. So we're simply just gonna add a color. And then we'll be able to cure it and be done, which is crazy. This is one of my favorites, the Galaxy Purple.
Very popular.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's it. That's all you do for your bracelet. We're gonna use a little bit of heat on it. And then we're gonna go in at that for 60 seconds. And I'm gonna put my ring under there at the exact same time so I can cure all of it together. And then you'll have this cute little bracelet already done. So under 5 minutes, you can create bracelets, any kind of jewelry with the Glimmer Cure. And I think you guys will really like using that formula. It's very, very easy to use. And has a really nice color selection too. And now we're going to be moving on to the earrings using the mold. And you're gonna learn 2 different types of casting. You're gonna learn one being a thin cast, which is gonna be our earrings. And then you're also going to learn the 3D pour. So now this is done. Let's check it out, you guys. Look how cute it is. It's so cute. Look at that. So you've got your bracelet, and we do sell just the bracelets. So if you enjoyed making this bracelet, you can get more. But these make great gifts too, and they're just so easy to make. So quick and easy. Look at that. And we also have a glow-in-the-dark set of color bursts too. So if you want neon, if you're a neon person like I am, and you like the glow in the dark, you can do that too. Now we're gonna move on to our molds. So I want you to get your frog out, and I want you to get your teardrop mold out. We are gonna be using both. Okay, so for your frog, You can do glitter in it if you want to. You don't have to. What I'm going to do something a little bit different just to give you guys an idea of something that you could do. And I'm actually going to put some flowers in this little guy so you can see what it looks like with some pressed flowers in it, because it turns out really, really cute. If you're going to do glitter in this guy, make sure that you're not adding too much glitter. You don't want your resin to be too thick, because the light has to be able to penetrate all the way through the mold on both sides in order for it to get a full cure all the way through the center. So you just want to make sure that you're not adding like a crazy amount of glitter to it. Okay, so I'm going to do both the inside and outside of this mold so that we can create 2 pair of earrings at the same time. You can choose to do that, or you can do one. It's completely up to you, but I'm going to use the Glimmer Cure on the outside so you guys can see how easy that is, and then I'm going to use our UV resin and our glitter on the inside. So go ahead and pick the glitter that you wish to use and get your mixing cup nice and clean. And I'm going to show you how to use flowers if you choose to do that. When I'm working with flowers, one of the things that I like to do is I like to make sure that I'm flooding my flowers with UV resin before I place them. And what I mean by that is I'm soaking them in UV resin, because a flower is very porous. So there's going to be a lot of air trying to escape from that flower. And it's better to have it escape in the cup of resin than it is in your piece, because you're going to have a lot harder time getting that air out of there if it's in the piece already. So we're just going to dip these flowers gently into this resin right here. And then we're going to place them in our little frog. So I'm going to let that soak for just a second. So I am pouring some UV resin right into my little frog here. If you want to do it clear, you can. One thing that I like to do with my UV resin when I'm doing a 3D pour is I like to warm it up first. So grab a cup of hot water, put the bottle in there, and let it warm up for a few minutes. It makes it really runny and really makes it really pure, no bubbles, nothing like that. I also have a bottle warmer, so because I do it so much, you can get a little bottle warmer and put it in there if you want, but it really does make a big difference when you're doing a thick pour like this. So I've got a base layer of my UV resin in there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my first flower and I'm going to put it upside down in my frog, because the upside down, the bottom of the mold is going to be what you see on top. That's one of the things you kind of got to get used to when you start casting with a mold. Then I'm going to take this other little one, my little yellow guy, and I'm going to put that one in the little head of the frog. I'm just going to lightly press, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that rest for a few minutes while we're working on our earrings, because I want the bubbles from the flowers to get to the top so that I can get them with my lighter, and that's what's going to help me get that really nice crystal clear cure. So this is what it looks like right now, you guys. So I'm just going to set it to the side and let it rest for a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and work on our earrings. So go ahead and put some UV resin in your cup. You're going to fill it about a little less than 3/4 of the way, and you're going to pick your glitter out. Now everybody loves our Paradise City from the Glam Metal series of glitter, and we sold out of that so fast, and we have not gotten it back in, so we came back with a sister to it. This is called We Didn't Start the Fire, and it's the closest that you're going to get to the Paradise City glitter. And all of the Billy J series is based on the Glam Metal, so it's basically like the Glam Metal 2.0. So if you loved that Glam Metal series, you're definitely going to want this one because it is great. All right, we're going to go in with 3 heaping spoonfuls of We Didn't Start the Fire. We're going to take our silicone brush and we're going to mix that in. Now, one thing, if you don't want to do glitter on this, let me give you an idea of something else that you could do, which is using that polymer clay that came in your kit. So the reason we put that in your kit is because you can actually make a pair of earrings with that polymer clay. You can also use it to jazz up one of your pieces. So if you are working on one of your rings, and let's say you are a huge fan of pizza, and you just love pizza so much that you just want to wear pizza. So you can actually take that piece of pizza and you can put it inside that ring on top of a little glitter, and it is going to be the cutest friggin' ring ever. So that's why we put a mix in here, so you guys can really see there's sunflower seeds, there's monster eyes, there's some softballs in there, some flowers, there's yeah, the bomb pop, a dollar bill. There's all kinds of fun stuff in here. So you guys can really personalize and customize your jewelry to make it fun, and that's what makes it fun gifts as well. People really love that kind of stuff. Now we have over 400 different polymer clay pieces in the shop, so you will definitely find something for everyone when you're shopping, that's for sure. Now what I want you to do is I want you to pour that resin into the middle, but I don't want you to pour too much. I just want you to pour enough to get to the bottom of this peg, and I want you to let it kind of level out, because what we don't want to do is put too much in and then have to take some out. That's a lot harder to do. So we're just going to kind of let it level out. It's going to work its way up past that peg, and once it's past that peg and starts leveling lower, then you can add more to it. But I let the resin kind of flow where it needs to flow. I don't coax it too much, because when it flows freely like this, you're going to have less imperfections in your pieces, like pits or any kind of issues. It's going to do what it needs to do, and when it stops flowing, that's when we'll go in and kind of mess around that peg there. So I'm going to let that rest for a minute, and we are going to pipe in some Glimmer Cure around the border. Now you can do whatever you want around this border. You can fill up your cup and do a different color. You can do the same color. Whatever floats your boat, go for it. But I'm going to show you how easy it is to use this Glimmer Cure. This is the gold Glimmer Cure, and I'm literally just piping it in to this mold all the way around. And we're going to let it get around those pegs, but you can see how quick and easy it is. There's no mixing, no mess, just quick and easy. All right, let's take a look at the top of our peg there and see how it's filling in. It's filling in very nice. So I'm just going to make sure that it's all the way up, and it is on that one. This one needs a little bit of help, so I'm just going to push up against that peg to make sure that the resin goes all the way up to the top point of that mold. We want to make sure it goes all the way around that peg. Same with this one. We're going to make sure it goes all the way around the peg. So we're just going to lightly press it to the top. Perfect. Now I'm going to show you what I use the flat edge for on my silicone brush. So these are really handy because they're very easy to clean. So if you get any resin on the side, you can just kind of squeegee it off, and it's a lot easier to clean your pieces after the cure. So I'm just going to get rid of any resin on the outside of the mold. And then I'm going to let these rest a little bit so that they finish leveling out. Let's move back to our frog, and we're going to go ahead and top off our frog while these earrings are resting. So I'm going to go ahead and pour And I'm going very slow because I want to make sure that I can get in all of his little toes and his little, I don't know if they're fingers. I guess they're not. Phalanges, thank you. You can tell that I'm not a bio major.
I only know that from the movie Rango.
All right. So we're just making sure we get it in all of his little phalanges. And we're going to use our silicone brush with the point on it. I'm just going to make sure that I don't have any glitter on the end because I want this piece to be crystal clear. No inclusions, no nothing. I'm going to take my point and I'm just going to push some resin into each of his little extremities to make sure that I get resin in all of them. We don't want any air pockets. So you're just gonna push, and that's how you're gonna check to make sure that resin has flowed in there. And as long as you're working on a level surface, it's not gonna matter because it's gonna level out no matter what. But you're gonna be able to see here that there's a lot of bubbles right here that are rising to the top. So letting it rest is going to be the best way to ensure that you're going to get a cure that is nice and clear. So we're going to add a little heat, and then I'm going to let it rest a little longer. So I'm going to put him over to the side. We're going to go back to our gorgeous pair of earrings here. And I'm just going to check the mold from the side and see where I need to add resin because I want to make sure that it's flush with the side. So we're just going to pour a really thin amount all the way around. The middle ones are good. I just need a little more with the glimmer cure. And then I'm going to let that level out as well. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of heat to both of these. And I'm going to put them right up against each other. And I'm just going to make sure that he doesn't have any bubbles under his little head because they like to hide under there. Okay, so we're going to bring over the magic here. And we are going to slowly cure this because it's a thicker pour. So with the earrings, you could cure it at 36 watts if you really wanted to. It's not going to hurt them. But because I'm doing a thicker pour with the frog, I definitely want to make sure that it is going to be cured slower. And I don't know if you guys are in love with our snail. We have millions of views on this on this video. Everybody loves our snail mold. It's so cute. So I'm actually going to take my leftover of my, we didn't start the fire, and I'm going to pour it into this little snail mold. I'm going to go ahead and pour this guy so you can see what he looks like because they are so fun to make. Now we are going to cure on both sides. So just make sure that you get that full 60 seconds at that 36 watts. You definitely want that. Almost to that 36 watts. All right, so now we're at the 36 watts. We're going to go at 60 seconds. So I have 30 seconds left on that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to flip our molds over and finish the cure at 36 watts for 60 seconds. So you don't have to titrate up when you're doing that second side. All right. So now we're going to take it and we're going to flip it over. So we're going to flip the frog over, and we're also going to flip over our earrings. And we're going to go right back in for 60 seconds at 36 watts. If you're using the mini lamp, you're going to want to do that same thing where you hold the lamp above for the first 10 seconds and slowly move it in, and that's going to keep it cooler under there. You'll notice that especially when you're doing a 3D pour, it's going to be a lot warmer because the UV light is going to make that resin heat up. So after we're done with the frog, we're actually going to let it cool a little bit before we start handling it because it is going to be a little bit warm. So you want to be careful of that. Okay, so we've got our little frog. Look how cute. We're gonna set him aside. He's very warm, and I don't wanna take him out too soon because when they're warm like this, they can bend a little bit. It's gonna be a little pliable. The cooler it gets, the more it's going to cure to that rock solid state. So we're gonna let him rest a little bit. Same with the earrings. They're a little warm, but you can tell this is not a deeper pour. So this is gonna cool off a lot faster. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take these out. So go ahead and demold your earrings and look at that. Look how pretty that is. That's the gold glimmer cure. And I'm gonna show you a little trick on how to clean up these little edges right here. Look at that gorgeous pair of earrings. And then our middle, I love that glitter so much. And then our second one here. Pretty. Now, what we want to do is we want to clean up any of the resin that has spilled on the edges here. So this is called a deburring tool. This is something we sell in our shop with 10 extra blades. So this is a one-time buy. You're never going to have to buy another one. What you want to do is you want to take that little swivel edge, almost like a potato peeler, and you're just going to hold it to the edge of your piece, and you're just going to gently sweep across it, and it's going to remove any extra resin without sanding. So you are not going to have to sand your pieces, because when you sand, guess what? You got to recoat, and we don't want to recoat. We want to be done. So we're just going to swivel inside the little hole. If there's any resin in there, that's going to be removed. So now this piece is ready to wear. You can either wear it or you can dome it, depending on what you want to do. It's completely up to you. We are going to dome this one. I'm not going to dome this one. I'm going to let you do that on your own, but we are going to dome one pair because I want you to see the difference between doming and not doming when it comes to jewelry. It makes a huge difference in the piece. So we're just going to clean these up and set them aside. Now, if you're really crafty, you can actually drill a hole right here in the bottom of this, and you can use a jump ring and connect the two of these. And you can make a really cute pair of dangles with the doubles, and they are adorable. And we have 26 different shapes of these molds. These are super durable. They're going to last a really long time, and they're made for UV resin. The reason that these molds are so thick the way they are is because the really tiny flexible molds, they're going to wear out super fast, and you're also going to end up with pieces that are bent. So I don't know if you guys have used those molds, but you'll notice that it's got a curve to it when you pull it out of the mold. And that's because there's not enough silicone to keep the shape of the earring, so it's going to end up warping it. These molds are made for this type of project, so it's going to keep it flat, it's going to keep the integrity of the shape, it's going to do a really nice job for you. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and sand the top of one. You can do both earrings. I'm just going to do one because I'm just going to show you the difference between the two. So I'm just going to do one. But we're going to sand the top here, just like we did with the keychain. The really nice thing about UV resin jewelry too is that it's extremely light. You guys probably figured that out by now. Look how light these earrings are. They're not going to weigh your ear down and give you that really bad stretched out look when you're older. That's like one of my really big fears, that would happen to me. So that's why I love UV resin jewelry, because it's never going to do that. You're not going to have that problem because they weigh nothing. They weigh nothing. We're going to spray that. We're going to wipe that. And then we're going to dome it. Now you can see the difference between the two already. This is the one that I did not sand. This is the one that I sanded. It's totally dull. So I'm going to use my UV resin, and we're going to go all the way around the earring. And then we're going to use our silicone brush, and we're just going to make sure that it's touching the edge all the way around.
Or use the color burst in the frog mold.
Yes, you can use the color burst in the frog mold. However, I would work in layers because that's how you know you're going to be able to see. If you're using the transparent color burst, you can do it all at once because it's transparent. But the neon color burst, you're going to have to do it in layers because it's more opaque.
Okay.
All right, we're going to add a little heat to this, and then we're going to cure it at 36 watts for 60 seconds. And I have my little snail here. He is completely full. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in with the earring, and we're going to cure him as well. The one thing I will tell you, I will warn you about torching with UV resin on an acrylic blank or when you're doming something. It applies a lot of pressure and a lot of heat. So the problem with the pressure and the heat is it's gonna warm that resin up, and when it's runnier, remember, it's gonna run off the sides, and then you're gonna have a mess to clean up. So I recommend using a lighter as much as you can. Unless it's a bigger piece, then I would recommend the torch. I'm gonna take my little dude and I'm gonna turn him over and do another 60 seconds, but I'm gonna show you guys the difference between the two. So this is the one that is not domed. Okay, and this is the one that is domed. So you can really see the difference between the two. It really brings out the dimension, and it just looks like a really nice piece when you're done. So doming is an extra step, but it's totally worth it in the end.
That's the
Totally worth it.
Professional looking piece.
Yes. So now that we have your earrings done, I want to show you how these pinch clip earring hooks work. So these are hypoallergenic, they're stainless steel, and the cool thing about them is you don't need any jump rings to use them. So you're just going to take the little pinch clip here, and you're going to put it right into the hole on your earring like this, and then you're going to literally pinch it shut like that. And now you have this earring that is done, and you can put it right in. You guys can wear these and go downstairs and show your husband, like, I just made these in this class, because they are so cool. And let me tell you, if you have a little girl, they're gonna want a pair immediately, because my niece has like 100 pair of resin earrings. I don't know where she gets them all, but
Yeah, I have no idea.
all right, guys, the time has come to demold our little friends, and then we are going to have a little bit of Q&A, and then that's going to conclude our class. So we are going to take Mr. Little Froggy Doodle out of his mold so you guys can see how cute he is. Look at him.
Cute.
Look how cute he is. He is so cute. You can do so many things. You can do the clay. It looks like he has a little dress on, doesn't it?
Lacy underpants.
Yep. He is so cute. These are so much fun. I can't wait to see what you guys do with these. But make sure you guys join our Facebook group if you haven't already. It's Resin Rockers Tips and Tricks. And post what you've made tonight and let me see, because I love seeing what my students make, because you know what? A lot of times they have better ideas than I do, and it's incredible. I love it so much. So these are super fun to make. Now you know how to do a 3D cast, so pat yourself on the back, because that is a hard thing to master. And we are going to take our little snail out of the mold and see how he looks. Oh my goodness, look how cute he is. So cute. So this is with, we didn't start the fire glitter. But these are a lot of fun too, and you can put little suction cups on there and put them at people's workstations. You can put them on the bathroom mirror. You can make little magnets. There's so many different things that you can do with these little guys, but this is our most famous little character in our molds, and you can see that by our TikTok videos. It is our most famous little guy here. So I wanted to show you guys how to make him. I know one question that keeps coming up is, do you still have these kits available, and will this class be recorded? Yes, we do have kits available still in the shop. Just look up UV Resin Beginners Class Kit. Well, I had so much fun creating with you guys tonight. Thanks for spending your Thursday evening with me, and I hope you'll go in the group and say hi, because one of my favorite things to do at night is to go through all the posts from the day and see what people made. I love that, because sometimes I don't even get to create during the day, so I have to live vicariously through you guys. So please join the group and post what you've made tonight.